martial art that you can call like this in Japanese is shōzō-ryoku. So it's the power of the imagination. And in the word imagination, you have the word image. So actually, it's to visualize what you're doing, but at the same time to visualize what's happening, what might happen. If we look in the history of classical martial art, but not only, you can find this in many other disciplines, but in the classical martial art, all the ryuso, so the founder of different kind of ryuha, whatever it is, Isasacho Isai for the Tenshin Shoden Katori Shintoryu, Matsumoto Bizen no Kami for the Kashima Shinkageryu, Tsukada Bokuden for the Kashima Shintoryu, or Nenamijon for the Nenryu, Aisui Kosai, Kageryu, then of course Kamiizumi Sen no Kami for Shinkageryu, and many other, Takeno Uchiryu, any kind. They all have a moment when it happened. It's during a certain moment of a very extreme, critical practice. And during that moment, they are not two, they are alone. They practice alone in the most extreme things. So they're gonna maybe fast, not eating, going in a certain area, in a mountain, in a temple or a sanctuary, and practice in order to reach a certain limit, psychological limit and physical limit. And at that moment, most of the time, something happens. It can be like a dream, it can be like a kind of inspiration, and they find what they call the higi, gokui, so the highest level, the ultimate state of mind of practice. But what is very interesting about this, at first, they all have a common background, a common source of practicing alone. And when you practice alone, it's not just doing pull-up, push-up. It's a little bit like shadow. You see in boxing or in karate, when they do the kata, which is very similar in the idea. It's to see against who you're fighting. Someone's going to say it's an imaginary opponent, but it's still here. He's going to attack you, he's going to do like this. So here you can see the work of the mind, and the work of the mind through the body. Of course, it's not the reality. It's you and your brain. But the way you will practice, the way you will put your body through a certain discipline should shape the mind to visualize correctly what you're doing. And the same, for example, in the way of praying, in the way of doing meditation, there is a visualization about yourself and the way you breathe in order to understand and to sense, instead of understand, to sense, to measure what is working inside. Who are you? What are the part of the body that works on you, in you, for you, by you, with you, inside the technique? So visualize what you do. It's very important. Because if you don't visualize, you know, I like the word visualize because of course it comes from Latin. And in the word visualize, for example, in French, visualiser, so visualize, you have also the idea of vision. So a vision, visualize, it's to have a vision. And vision, visualize, maybe with my accent, you hear it a little bit, you have the word vi. In French, it means life. In Spanish, la vida, for example. So this, it's also because, of course, same source in language. To visualize, it's to put in life, to put in motion. In other words, to give life to something. Of course, reality is the test. Reality is going to test if your vision was good or not. So we can also say that, for example, all the founder of those different ryuha, Katori, Kashima, Shinkage, etc., if their vision was wrong, they will die. Or maybe they could escape from the fight and reconnect with that vision of them and erase what was not correct. Visualize is very important to visualize, but do not forget a very important thing. It's the reality. When you visualize, do not forget that the reality will come to knock at your door and say, oh, really? You think it works? And that's very important. When you visualize, do not forget the reality. And if you visualize through the reality, then you can see a path through your practice, something that's going to transform you and shape you and look things in a different way. Well, life is, it's not an easy thing, and saying is easy. It's a little bit lying to everyone. There is, of course, up and down, twist and turn, different things. You have job, family. You can be sick. Sometimes you have the great envy to practice. When it's the summer, you're ready to work out. When it's the winter, you stay home because it's cold. You don't really want to go. Of course, not everyone is like this, but one day you fell in love and you forget to go to practice. All these are part of the art because they are part of the life. How to keep the practice. This meaning of keiko, initiate kangaeru, means to reflect about the past, how they did in the past, how master of the past lead their life, lead their practice, how they face adversities. In the history of master of the past, prophet, leader, great men and women, and women of vision, artists, you have many examples on how you can, for example, live your life, shape your vision, and of course, everything that goes with shaping what you want. And if you have a strong aiming and a strong goal, you're going to have to work all the different aspects of your life, your aptitude, and shape yourself in order to reach that goal, to grasp it. But many things will come around in order to put you out of the way, out of the path. How you do this? Our first thing, you need to understand that we human beings, we are the complete reflection of inconstancy. So we are inconstant in many things. And try to find constancy inside. The life is complicated. So you have first of all to accept your own nature. You have to accept there's going to have moment with and not, and between this, to force yourself, because this is what discipline is. To force yourself to accept, to force yourself to forge yourself, to shape yourself in order to elevate. And I don't want to say control your ego because it's a very complicated phrase, but at least to understand you in order to see how deep you can go. And the more you go deep, the more you understand, the more you see that you want more, that you want to discipline more. You feel also that in the case of the classical martial arts, everything that are born between the 14th century, 15, 16, and even beginning of 17, it's born in an insecure time, what we call, for example, Sengoku Jidai, Momoyama Azuchi, or even earlier, Muromachi Jidai, etc. This is a moment of insecurity. And those Ryuha, they are born in an insecure time, in a troubled time, in an uncomfortable time. Why? Because in order to teach you how to endure, how to persevere, how to go through this. So in other words, if for example you feel that what you do is comfortable, it's easy, you go to the class 2 times per week, you do your workout, and when a problem happens in your life, in general, emotional things, a job, or the pandemic just recently, and you cannot face it, you can question the reason and the nature of your own practice. It should be the opposite. Because you practice something that should allow you to expect the unexpected, to expect the difficult times, the hard times, and then the value, like the nature of what you practice change. And you become an example for the other, and at the same time you become a very, how can I say, yes, you serve people with your knowledge and with what you do. So how you can do? But just keep on trying. That's the only way. That's the only way. And here the meaning of nintai, to endure, to persevere, to go through. It's not just about few things that happen in life. It's the first thing you have to endure is yourself. There is this aspect of like shiki o shinobu, like your own conscience. Try to also endure your own conscience. Try to endure and to persevere from your own desire, your own envy. You can find this in many religion and philosophy dogma as well. You know, when you're a student, you expect that you, for example, you have practice, you deserve the rank. all right? Sometimes you heard, please give me the rank when I'm worth it, when I am at the level. There is also the aspect that as a student, because I study, how can I say, I study this, I show I'm serious, so you should acknowledge the fact that I am a student. Because I go to your class, because I pay my fee, because I'm here every day, I should be recognized as a student. And this tells a lot about what I was talking about, the intention, the true nature of the intention behind the fact of study or practice. A true student doesn't expect anything. And that's complicated because it comes with time. If you study, the fact of being able to study or the fact to have the chance to assist a class, hear a word, an instruction, being able to see a practice, already this is a gift. Being able to study and use the body and copy, visualize, it's a gift. And on that, there is the result. Now, if you study in order to have a result, if you practice in order to result, which is not logical, you practice, for example, if you do sports, you're going to have to push your performance because you have a certain date where you're going to do, who knows, a competition, a match, etc., and then you win, you're the champion, or you lose or something like that. And most of you, I've heard phrase like, we are mainly never enough prepared to the defeat because we look so much the victory. It's the same in a job. When you do a work and you receive the money and the money doesn't really fit your expectations. Oh, why you pay me that? I did that kind of job. And this is also connecting with the ego. 90% of the case, we do something and we expect more than we think we should receive, what we should deserve. And this is the same things. I think being able to practice and find in the practice already the fact of practicing is a result on itself. And not the goal, I practice, I receive this. Here you go deep in classical martial art, here you deep in any kind of things. Being able to practice without looking for the result. Being able to practice without waiting, expecting that the master see you. You see, if you practice, you do, I hope he's looking at me, and you do the technique and from the corner of the eyes, you say, oh, he's looking at me, he's looking at me. It tells that you are more, you want just an improvement, you want to be recognized. And what about the practice itself? What about the art? What about the technique? This is what have shaped the art and what give the master the title of master, because he forget himself in the front of the art. He forgot himself in the front of his own practice. It doesn't exist. It's more like his ego support the art, his ego support the practice, and not the practice that support the ego or the art that support the ego. Same with the rank. I have a rank. I am 5th dan. I am 10 dan. I am Menkyo Kaiden. I am master. Say I and the master after. I mean, look. If you look, of course, it's linguistic. I master. So me first, then master. I Shihan. Me, etc., etc. What about the opposite? What about the opposite? To put the one who did everything for you, gave everything, even if you don't see it, because you don't have the eyes, because you don't have the heart, and you don't have the knowledge, you don't see it. So what you want, like a kid, hey, do you see me? Of course he saw you. He saw you the first time you came in his dojo. He saw you the first time you enter. He knows. And if he didn't see you first time, and if he doesn't know, it is not a master. So at the same time, maybe he don't deserve you as a disciple if you're the right disciple. But don't get me wrong. We all think we are the good disciple and the best disciple and the right disciple. And when, for example, we don't receive or we are ignored, then we think, come on, after everything I did for you? I like that story. I like that story. For example, this is everything a master give you, all right? The teaching, etc., etc. He's helping you even when you don't understand. He's giving you things even when you don't see. And at the moment there is a problem, you know what you said? You said, what did you do for me? And all the knowledge and everything is went out. Sometimes you have to ask yourself if you are worthy for the knowledge. Because study is not enough. You study by interest. You study to become good, all right. Because you want to be recognized, all right. Because you want to be the next one, the wannabe, you want to live large, to be a martial artist, good. With time and life and practice, and by study more and more about the history and how they did in the past, you have many examples of people who tried the same things and it didn't work well for them. So I think seeing this in that point of view tell a lot about, of course, what it is to be a student, the equality of the student, and at the same time how to find a master, and what is a master too. Sometimes we have, let's say, a roof, intellectually, physically, and of course with age, we reach a roof. For example, if you look at sports martial arts, for example, maybe, 20s, you are the prime until 30s. And then from 30s to 40s, you have, let's say, still good 10 years. But when you start in the 40s going lower, physically you cannot. Especially if you don't cultivate this very simple mind, but complicated at the same time. You don't cultivate that learning aspect, go deep aspect. You try to not keep that kind of mind who said, oh, I rich, oh, I know, I have the rank, I know. It's very difficult to remove that self-esteem to think that, okay, I rich. So once you reach this limit, what's the choice? You quit, you stop, or you just, stay comfortable. I know I don't need to go, I don't need to prove myself anymore, which is a little bit also a kind of a proof of ego. We always need to prove ourselves. Life is a test. Life will test your intention. The practice, actually, the practice on itself, the art you choose, will test your intention. Through that master, through life, through everything. Through love, through the betray, through everything. It will test you and see if, when you said, oh, I'm going to follow him, I'm going to follow the heart, this is the heart of my life, then you quit. Now ask yourself when you quit, is it you who quit or the heart who quit you? Or the heart who give you the chance and obviously you didn't have enough endurance, psychological strength, maybe passion, maybe heart to go through this. How you do that? The first things, like any kind of student, like any kind of human being, it's to keep the critical questioning of yourself. Of course, it is easy to question and to critique the master. Of course, it is important to keep a critical mind. But the critical mind you have on the other should first be turned toward yourself. Toward the way you move, how long, on which term. And this is very important. Very important. And at the moment you think you understood, at the moment you think, oh, this is the way it is, this is how it is, I think I get it, etc. This is the moment where the critic needs to be turned toward yourself. And to be very honest toward yourself. Honest in the front of your capacity. Said, oh, I'm not flexible. Oh, I cannot do this. Oh, I cannot learn this. Oh, it took too much time. You already put limit and you already put yourself in failure. Like I said a little bit before, classical martial art are born into critical time. If you look, for example, a great sportsmen like such the late Muhammad Ali, or even like Mike Tyson, or even Floyd Mayweather, or even on MMA, or Conor or Khabib, they are people who they didn't start, with a silver spoon in the mouth. Everything was ready for them. When they get back from home, they have the food, etc. They have to fight. They really need to fight in for real. They have to fight for no money, not recognized, didn't have anything. They have the parents. They have, of course, sometimes they have support. And for the people who didn't have support, for the people who didn't have the mother and the father or the brother who could support them, or sometimes they have a very complicated family existence and relationship. They are fighters. So sports was a way where they put their whole energy and they go deep and go deep and go deep. In that case, they push their limit, they push the boundary. Don't you think they said, oh, I cannot make it? Huh? And if you put also this into a certain political, racial environment, it's even worse. So you're going to have to push your limit and your boundaries, but at the same time, it's not because you reach the top that it's over. When you reach what you think is the top, this is where you need to work more, to study more. At the moment you reach that moment of roof, and you know the roof, recognize your limit, recognize your intellectual limits and boundaries. But at the same time, the fact of recognize them push you to know them. And when you know your enemy, then you can fight him, isn't it? Or you can learn how to avoid him or to overcome it. Here it is. That's a very important thing. There is no one master. Artists, or even actors. If you look some of the actors, great actors, anything didn't happen like that. They work like crazy. And still, even if they're in good, the best actor, like the best master, like the best student, is the one who doesn't forget where he come from. And here it is. Once you reach the roof of your limit, don't forget where you come from. Never forget where you come from and how it was and why you did it. This will push you to go deeper and normally should teach you what is the most important in life with faith and love, humbleness.